Alright, this is going to be a New Year's video, so we're going to talk about New Year and what that means, where that comes from, because different people have a different way of looking at the New Year depending upon their traditions, and we can tell how old their calendar is by when their New Year is now celebrated. The calendars are the locks on the box in the sky. To me, that's why tropical astrology is out of sync. I use the original sidereal astrology, not the new one. The new one with the 13 signs, I don't use that. But in tradition, New Year's was always looked at as the winter solstice, the birth of the sun, the new year. Well, our new year is off by about a week. So we can... there's a ruckus starting outside. Kelly didn't say a word yet. And the Chinese calendar is pretty old. But there are other traditions like Hebrew. They have two different calendars. One, the new year starts in the spring equinox, and they're secular, or like our government calendars. They'll start in the fall. Their physical year, they call it. So time is measured and beginnings are measured different, but the oldest tradition is the beginning is always the birth of the sun at the winter solstice. And then the spring equinox is when the seed comes out of the ground and life springs forth. The summer solstice is the apex, and the fall equinox is the fall, or the autumn equinox is the fall, back into the winter. But are you understanding what I'm saying here? I don't want to confuse anybody. Let me take you to Stellarium. To me, it's easier if you look at it in the stars, and that's why it's written in the stars. That seems to be the simplest way to explain all of this. All right, let me get some. There we go. Let's get date and time up here. Now, let's go back to, well, our New Year's is there. And if the spring equinox were here, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually 11. So 11 times 72. That's what you do. A degree is 72. So 11 times 72 is how many years off our calendar is. The Chinese calendar, it varies from our calendar, as do the others, because we all have a different way of counting. We all have a different legend. But it's all about the same thing. And you can tell how old calendars are, what their legends are. Now, our calendars have been adjusted quite a bit, so they're actually older than the 11 times 72. Between, here we have the Julian calendar, and the dates running simultaneously against our Gregorian date. But actually, that's what this thing is. It's a calendar. And you can tell by the stories that are told, who told them, when they were told. And that's how, as a collective, we remember. We teach it to our children in rhymes and riddles, so that when we return to the golden age, we remember. And Aquarius is all about remembering and knowing, alchemy and astrology. And always remember, alchemy is the law of equivalent exchange. And alchemy in astrology is the laws of nature. All of this is perfectly natural. The perversion of it is the unnatural. Now we're told right before this happens is the restoration of all things, to restore. The word repent, and on my first channel I done the word repent, and I went through the old French alchemy dictionaries, and they would constantly tell you that word repent. Today we would say repaint or repen the zodiac. And that's what Jesus kept telling them to do, because it's written here. And that's why it'll never be taught in our schools, not as long as the powers of this age remain in power. The powers of Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Gemini. The power of the mutable cross. That is who is in control. But at the same time, this is the time for transmutation and change, right? You know, in duality, we're always told we're given two choices, right? Dualism, there's two. But there's always three. There's really no such thing as dualism, because you can go left or right, or the third option, neither one. Stay right where you're at. Go back where you came from. So in looking at all things in threes is how all things really come. Fire has three states: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. And the mutable stage, as horrible as it may seem, this is the time of transmutation. It is the time of becoming. And when it comes to change, some people don't like change. And another group will run from change. And then the third group, they are the catalyst for the change. They're going after it. I advise you to start your year this year and decide, are you, where change is concerned and the transmutation of your life is concerned, what stage are you at? And when you find out where you're at, then you know what your next stage is. Are you at the mutable stage in your transmutation, which is what Pisces is? Are you moved to the master level or the grandmaster level? So if you're up for change this year in your life, and you want to see change in you in your life, then you have to become that catalyst. Become that mutable. You got to be like the reed in the wind sometimes and bend with it. The water finds the shape of whatever container it's in. This is an age of water, and this is what water does. We would say, when in Rome, be as the Romans. The water is going to adapt to whatever shape it's in. So remember that this year. It'll help you through the hard times, because when we're coming up on this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, and it's happening, the battle is happening back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius. Capricorn and Sagittarius, as we progress through this year. And so it's going to shift back, the power's going to shift back and forth till ultimately Saturn takes control in Capricorn. Now I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk about consciousness for a second and what we are here. Because basically, all we are is consciousness that is inhabiting an organic form. You are the life that animates the organic form. But we seem to be, this place, in my opinion, is partially run like our BIOS system in a computer. It's partially run by our subconscious. Things that we're not aware of on a conscious level, that we don't think, the non-thinking part of our brain, the reactive part of our brain, encoded into the DNA. It's more a part of the body than it is a part of consciousness. It's the deeper programming. Like, in my opinion, deja vu. If you think about deja vu in computer terminology, it's like you sent an email and it was sent back to you. And so you saw it twice. It just repeated itself right back to you. It would be like a neuron firing in the brain, and it was told to go store in the memory bank, and it came back around to your visual instead of going into the memory bank. So you saw it twice. Deja vu. Ooh, fireworks.